Hello, folks. My name is Robert Moore, and this is Wibby. I want to talk to everybody tonight, everybody that might be listening or watching, about history, about migration, because I'm tired of being called out for being a white man or white person, Caucasian, European, whatever. I'm really sick of it. I really am. About how horrible I am. White privilege bullshit. Fuck all that shit. Stealing land from the Indians here in North America. Enslaving black people from Africa here in America. Let's start with migration. There's two kinds of creation that we all agree upon. Either one, Genesis, the book of Genesis, the creation by God. Man was created by God in his likeness and image. Or two, evolution. We all somehow swam up out of the ocean onto Pangea, whatever, all the continents, and then we all evolved over billions and millions of years into human beings from chimpanzees eventually. But let's talk about the first one first. Creation. Remember, it's about migration, okay? We'll do the slavery stuff later. But I'm really sick and tired of being told I'm a horrible person because I'm white or Caucasian or European, because that's who I am. And I'm supposedly a descendant of murderers, slaughterers, conquerors, etc. So let's get back to Adam and Eve, creation by God. There was a small little area, or maybe a larger area, somewhere they believe around in the Persian area of the world. They called it the garden. It was called the Garden of Eden, where God created man and then created woman to be his partner. Okay, I think it's a great concept. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for women. But then they had kids, Cain and Abel. We all heard that story about how Cain slew or killed Abel. So murder had been around for this beginning of time, according to Genesis and the Bible, the creation of God. But then he also sent down other angels in order to procreate or have babies from these earthly people that God created. Okay? We all heard the story about Eve eating the apple. She was banished from the Garden of Eden for eating the apple. Where'd she go? Where'd she go? She had to go somewhere, right? She just didn't disappear. No, she had to migrate somewhere. Her and Adam, they walked out of the Garden of Eden. Try to find another place, a better place to live, because Eden wasn't good anymore. And then all of their offsprings, the ones they begot, it was getting real crowded where they were living too. if you look at Persia today, and I'm sure it was different back in the time of creation, I understand it was actually quite luscious. But eventually, those folks needed to go somewhere else because they couldn't sustain life where they were living. Maybe the river ran dry, they had no water. Or maybe all the game that they were able to slaughter for eating to eat were killed off. They were gone. They migrated somewhere else. Or even maybe they had a drought. And so the vegetation was dying out. And so they had to migrate someplace in order to sustain life. Stay alive, man. That's what people do. Okay? Right? Or am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong. And those people multiplied and begot a bunch of people and begot some more. And it got so big where people started breaking off of all these folks that were begot, because there was, I don't know, disagreement on how to farm or hunt or gather water or where to live or where to roam or just how many wives you could have or whatever, man, right? People are like that. They're like that today, so you know they were like that then. There were disagreements. So they migrated a bunch of different areas. You ever hear of Babylon? How about the language software Babel? The language software Babel, teach you how to learn different languages. You know what it was is that when God, I don't know, something like from Abraham, his family was dispersed, and they all had different languages. Okay, they were babbling. That's where Babel comes from. But anyway, that's a very important point. What keeps societies together, the one main thing that keeps societies and peoples together is language. Because if you don't speak the same language, if you don't sign the same language, you can't get along because you don't know what the hell y'all saying. And one thing that might be love in one group of folks might be hate, I want to kill you, in another group of folks. So common language keeps societies together. But getting back to migration. So we all migrated out of that area, Persia area. Some people went up north into Europe. Some people went across Sinai into Africa. And some went over to Asia, right? Got it? Y'all with me? Is that true? Am I accurate or what? Okay, now what I understand from history, and I know we're all talking about climate change. Climate's been changing since the dawn of Earth. Since Earth was created, there's been climate change, okay? But anyway, so what I understand is over in the Asia area, off Russia, there was the Aleutian Islands, but it was frozen back then, and a lot of folks migrated across that territory, those little islands, that little area. So did a lot of animals, pachyderms, etc. They all crossed over the Aleutian Island area when it was frozen over. Came down into the American continent, as we call it today, the American continents. Okay? People migrated. So there was nobody here. Okay? Let's say there was no one here on this continent of America, Central and South America. All split up from Pangea. Look it up. But there was no one here. Okay. So y'all claim it, right? Or those folks claimed it, right? But do you think the migration stopped across the Aleutians? No. How about people from Europe in a boat coming across North Atlantic into Nova Scotia, Iceland, Greenland, etc. The Canadian lands and islands. Vikings, right? Yeah. People migrated, still migrated. Okay? So let's say the majority of the folks came across the Aleutians into the Americans. They were Asians for a while. And then they developed or evolved into Native Americans or Indians, Navajo, Apache, Comanche, Choctaw, Seminole, etc. Mexicans, as they went down there, or actually Mayans, Incas, right? That's how it all went, right? People migrate for good reason, sustain life, looking for food and water. That's why people move. Why do we move today? A better life, a better job, a better neighborhood. We do it all today still. We migrate all across this great country of ours. Nobody complains. But y'all want to hate white men from coming over from Europe and planting themselves at Plymouth Rock. Pilgrims. Nice people. They came here because they were seeking asylum. Democrats, all you open border folks, all you American haters, all you country border haters. That's right. They were seeking asylum because they were being persecuted in Europe because of their religious beliefs. They were being killed, slaughtered. What should we have done then? Democrats, progressives, left haters. Should we have turned them back and said, go back to Europe and get killed? Be persecuted? No. There was lots of land here. Lots of it. And so those folks, they set up camps, made cities, developed cities, communities. In fact, they met and ran into other, quote, native people that were here before them. And at first they became friends. Okay? They became friends. But that language barrier, that was a killer, man. And not only just the language barrier, but yes, the white folks from Europe came over with other illnesses that the American or the natives here had never come in contact with. And so they couldn't fight it off. A lot of them died. And a lot of those folks thought, oh my God, it's like the witch trials. Oh, they're witches. Oh, those white people, they're killing us. They didn't know it was disease. They thought it was some voodoo or whatever. They're killing us. They couldn't speak. They didn't speak the same language, obviously. And so there was fights and killing of each other. And more people came from Europe. And more people. Because they had heard about what a wonderful, beautiful continent this was. And the opportunities. And at first, we were still ruled under the English rule or whatever before we became independent. Thank you, God. But people migrated here, and they all hung out on the New England states on the East Coast. That's as far as they got, man. Because there wasn't any cars, there wasn't any freeways or trains or, aircraft or airlines or none of that shit. So I hung out on the East Coasts. And slowly but surely, they migrated towards the west or inward until they stopped and couldn't really go any further because they didn't know what the hell was going on over there further west. But it was getting crowded. Okay? So what do we do? What did the settlers do? They migrated west. And there were some reasons. I mean, there was the gold rush. There was what was it? Where oh shoot, I'm getting old. Homestead Act, that kind of stuff, right? Yeah, that was cool. That was white American government saying, "Go west, my friend." Okay, but when they did, they encroached on other tribal lands. I get it. I understand. Okay, but those tribes actually came from someplace, and I'll tell you this. History will also tell you that those tribes also migrated all over the place and fought and killed each other for resources to survive. Ask the Navajo and Apache. They fought each other all the time. So many Native Americans migrated when the buffalo ran out or when the water. Look at the Anasazi in Chinle, Arizona. Cliff dwellers, where'd they go? They left because there was no more water in that river. They left because there's no more food to feed their people. How about the Mayan, Incas? All those ancient civilizations. How come they left? They left because they migrated to other places for food and water to sustain their civilizations. And when they came across other people, they didn't have the same language, and it was ugly. That's what happened. So people, I'm really sick and tired of hearing about white man slaughtering and killing and stealing land here in America. We can steal shit. We came here peacefully as good Christians. There was a language barrier, yes. But Indians slaughtered and killed white folks, just like white folks slaughtered and killed Indians. Just like Indians killed and slaughtered Indians, and Mayans killed Incas and other Mayan communities and Mexicans, etc. So cut the shit, America. Quit hating on white folks about migration. One quick thing. Let's use this as an example. The Dakotas up north, lots of bison, lots of water. Another tribe that was trying to survive migrated up there and said, hey, Dakota, they can talk, sign, whatever. Can we stay here and feed off of your buffalo, get warmth, skins? And they said, yeah. A few years later, decades, I don't know, another tribe comes up because they had to migrate because their food sources and resources had run out. And they saw herds, great herds of buffalo, food, saw great rivers, and said, hey, you two try, can we stay here too, please? We promise we'll only take what we can eat and forage. And they said, okay, sure. All right. Then somebody else heard about it, another tribe. They came in, they didn't even say shit, man. They just took up camp and started killing buffalo for them to eat, for survival, okay? I admit, for survival. And drinking the water, the rivers. And then another tribe, and another one. Finally, all the buffalo and the water's gone, or it's running out. So the first tribe that was there said, hey, stop. Get the fuck out of here. You're not welcome. We can't sustain you. Sound familiar, Americans? That's what happened when our borders were wide open under Biden. Millions of people came into our country, and we can't sustain it. We can't pay for their bullshit, for their livelihoods. We're having a hard enough time paying for our own livelihoods. Why is it so hard to close our borders? Native Americans did it. Asians did it. Hell, they built a fucking Great Wall of China. Right? Let's keep going back. I could say a lot of other stuff. Give you some more history. The point is, folks, migration has been happening forever. Ever since the dawn of man. Everybody's been moving everywhere. We still do it today. People come to our country, we go to their countries, okay? But we have one thing in common, something that we're starting to get a hold of his language so that we can all get along. Okay? We also respect each other and the finite resources that are available. All right? But with an open border, Democrats, progressive pieces of shit, all you lunatics, idiots, with open borders and millions of people coming into our country, I don't give a shit if for a nanny or lawnmower, cutting your grass or picking cotton or whatever, man. We can't sustain them. Thank you, President Trump, for securing our border. God bless you. God bless you, Tom Thune. God bless you, DHS, ICE, for getting rid of these sons of bitches. We can't sustain it. Just like those Indian tribes couldn't sustain all those other tribes coming in and killing all their buffalo. Same thing, folks. Just a different era. My name's Robert Moore. If you think I'm wrong, let me know. If you think I'm right, like me and share this with a lot of people. Teach them human history about migration. I'm Robert Moore, and this is Wibby.